third is Suarez. Goodell comes running in. He's under it, makes the catch. Here's the throw to the plate. It's in the air. He is out! Cameron Redpath's on! Oh, man, what a play! Deep to right field. Way up there, and way out! Second down,
And welcome back to the Stupid Money Podcast. A more positive episode than I think the last time we were out here. Phillies have not lost a series since we've last spoken. They did split one, but no L's really. In the meantime, took 2 out of 3 in St. Louis, came home and took a split with the Pirates in a 4-game series and just swept the Rockies. Off day right now, and then they have an off day in the middle of a homestand, which we said was kind of weird. But then they bring in the White Sox, the worst team in baseball, for 3 games this weekend. So hopefully catch up some more ground there. Quickly take a look at standings. I know it doesn't mean a whole lot, but just to get a picture of everyone's record, it's a lot easier than me trying to read everything off. But here we have the NL East. The Braves, of course, 12-5. The Phillies 2 games behind them at 11-8. Phillies have played, what is that? Two more games than the Braves. So they're 3 behind in the loss column, but only 1 behind in the win column. The Mets, after starting 0-5, 10-3 in their last 13. The Marlins are really bad. Nationals, I think we kind of expected the Nationals to kind of hover in that like 75 to 80 win range, and so far that's kind of the pace they're on. Outside of that, I mean, not a whole lot going on. Obviously, the Dodgers and Padres have played a couple more games than everyone else, so they've 12 wins is the most in the NL right now, but they've played 2 more, so technically Atlanta is the best record in the NL right now. In the AL, the Guardians are 13-6. I didn't see that coming. They've also scored a lot of runs, which I also did not see coming. The NL West is interesting. Rangers lead at 11-9, and the Astros are 6-14, and they're giving up a ton of runs. So that is an interesting one, but obviously it's early. Records aren't going to mean a whole lot right now, but any main takeaways from what we see, especially in the NL East right now?
I think the NL East is pretty much what we expected. I know we all kind of expected the Phillies and the Braves to be at the top. I guess I didn't think the Marlins were like particularly good, but I didn't think they were 4-15 bad. And I don't know. We knew the offense was pretty bad, but Luzardo's been getting hit pretty hard in every one of his starts. They had one good pitcher. I think they were 2-0 or 2-1 maybe, and Max Myers 3 starts, and they sent him back down. So I don't really know what their plan of attack is there. I think so far it's been pretty straightforward. The Central's a lot better than we expected, I think. We saw a few of those teams with the Reds and the Pirates, and they're young, they're still trying to figure it all out. The Pirates pitching's pretty good. Jared Jones was pretty impressive when he was here. You kind of know what Bailey Falter is. He pitched well here, but I think we all kind of know that water will find its level with that one. Their bullpen's really good, though.
Yeah.
They have a lot of guys who move with the fastball. So, I don't know. That division's interesting. I don't think the Brewers will stay on top of it throughout the course of the season, but it's a logjam there. Whether that's just because they're all average teams or if they're actually good, we'll see in a few months. But I think as far as the National League goes, it's pretty much what we expected so far.
Yeah, there's not too much surprising me. Yeah, I mean, I picked the Cubs to win the Centrals, and they're only a half game back. Milwaukee scoring a lot is actually interesting to me because that was kind of the problem with them for the longest time was that they had really good pitching, they had really good defense, but they couldn't score, and they're actually hitting the ball a little bit. So having
Well,
Reese, man, I don't know.
they traded Corbin Burns, so now their pitching will probably start to suffer, and they'll actually start to hit. And it's like, damn, that would have been nice 2 years ago.
Yeah. I want to get up some stats here now. Because our big problem with the Phillies last time we spoke was the offense. And I know it's the Rockies, but I think they finally started to come around a little bit this week. Schwarber had a big game last night with 2 home runs. Trey Turner had 3 hits. He's all of a sudden at 329, I think.
Yeah.
And they find themselves, it's just offensive rankings, right? So, yeah, hitting. They're like 9th overall in hitting. I don't know how this is being calculated. But here they are. What is that? 21 and it's sorted by home runs. Okay, I wasn't sure how this was being sorted, but 9th in home runs. I'd like to go to runs instead. There we go. But the runs is still a little bit of an issue down here at 22. And I mean, with the way the pitching has been, I mean, you would think they'd be a little better than 11 and 8 right now. ERA wise, they're 7th overall, but if you take out that Brogdon extra innings outing and those 2 first games against Atlanta, where it seems like the bullpen was just not prepared for the season. I mean, they probably are top 3, I'd say. We know the starting rotation ERA is the best in the NL at 2.69. So the pitching has been I don't want to say a pleasant surprise because I think we knew they were going to be pretty good, but it's pretty much been outside of a couple blow-ups by a couple of guys in the bullpen. It's been elite level stuff.
Yeah. Strom's been really good. Alvarado's been pretty good aside from the Brave series, which, I'll write off as a pass. Not everybody's gonna, come out and shove their first appearance. Hoffman's been really good. Soto's hit or miss. You don't really know what you're gonna get from him. Kirkring, he's healthy, finally, but only 1 appearance so far, I think. So I'll you can't judge it too much. But yeah, the starters have been incredible. I think they're 3rd in the majors in ERA. The bullpen, I believe, is 1st if you take out Brogdon, his ERA. And I saw a thing, I think since last August, Strom and Jeff Hoffman are the leaders in the majors in terms of WAR amongst relievers. So, yeah, the bullpen's been really good aside from Brogdon, who's gone now and gave up 2 home runs to his first 2 batters in Los Angeles. So I don't know if, like we said, or if we talked about it, a lot of the joke was, yeah, Brogdon, of course, will go and shove for the Dodgers and have a save here against us in the playoffs. I don't think we're going to have to worry about him making it to the playoffs with the Dodgers unless there's some miraculous turnaround. But yeah, with how good the pitching is, you hope it keeps up, and you hope the offense, even if it backs off a little bit, the offense should be able to catch up to it in terms of production. And, knock on wood, this week should be the last week that we're under 500 all season.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna bring that up. I hope so. Starting pitching wise, it's, as I mentioned, the ERA is the lowest. Now, where are Ranger should be right here. There he is. Ranger is among the lowest ERAs after a complete game shutout against the Rockies on Tuesday. And I mean, this is the best he's ever looked as a Philly. I know it's a small sample size, only 4 starts, but this is by far the best I think he's looked. He's always looked good, but now he's starting to look like borderline elite with like the stuff he's showing. And of course, his defense is phenomenal, but he's striking out a lot more guys, and he's not walking as many. That's kind of always was an issue with him. Like, it would be a decent outing, but there'd be maybe 4 or 5 walks mixed in there. That has not been the case this year. As you can see, his whip is, I think that's the lowest in the majors at 0.77, or it's like top 3.
Yeah, and I think
there's one guy lower. Yeah.
He talked about it after the game the other night, and he was pretty subtle about it and not too elaborate in his description. But I think Murph on the radio asked him about what he was doing differently in terms of his throwing program to get right for the season. And I don't know if it's so much different, but it's the fact that he actually had a full off season to do something. Like 2 years ago, he couldn't get back into the country because of the visa. And then last year he had the forearm issue in the World Baseball Classic. So he's never really, at least since, we've kind of expected or asked more of him in the rotation, he hasn't really had a full off season or a full spring training in camp with Caleb Cotham and the pitching coach biometrics lab and stuff to get up to full speed and, get the tinkering that he wants to do or, that they intend to do for him done. And they've kind of just been rushing, playing catch up to get him, right, whether it's in April or May. But I think that full off season is definitely crucial for a guy like him who's, not the overpowering guy that Wheeler is. He can get it up to 93. But, at times the other night the sinker was hitting 90. So he's really got to focus on command and, tinkering off speed stuff to be an effective pitcher. And a full off season goes a long way for making adjustments for that stuff and feeling, fresh to start the season where you're not trying to fight your command early on because you've had a full off season to get reps in. So that definitely, I think, goes a long way to what we've seen the first few starts for him.
Yeah, it certainly has helped to be healthy and to be there on time. He's not like the only guy that Spencer Turnbull has been. I don't think he's on the rankings as a qualified pitcher. I think his next start is tomorrow, and then he probably will be. But he had a 1.8 ERA, I believe. It's not on here though, but he's been really good. Obviously, Sanchez has been, for a 5, he's probably the best 5 in baseball right now. I'd say Wheeler's 0-3. I've seen him twice this year, and he's lost both of those starts. Outside of Sunday was kind of on him. I know they didn't score a lot, but the grand slam was pretty bad. Outside of that, though, he's pitched well enough to get some wins, and right now he sits at 0-3, which hopefully that changes on Saturday because he faces the White Sox, who have been shut out 6 times this year already. So I would hope that on Saturday we get our first Wheeler win of the season.
Yeah, the other night he's definitely pitched, more than good enough to get wins. I think the other night I can't fully put it on him just because obviously you want to ride your ace
right.
as far as you can go into the game. But when he went out for that 6th inning, the first at bat that inning wasn't really too competitive, and then I think Tellez hit second, and he went 3-0 on him, and not one of those pitches was even competitive. So he definitely kind of lost the strikes on the start, and there wasn't a mound visit, wasn't really anything. And then the Kutch single was a bleeder, a fish shot, whatever. It wasn't solid contact or anything to really cause concern. But he labored through the first 3 batters of the inning and was already, deep into a game. It's early in the season. I get it. At that point, bases loaded, no outs. The damage is, not done, but essentially done. Chances are they score at least 1 there, if not at least 2. But yeah, the grand slam was a bad pitch. He definitely hung it. But I think that, there were definitely signs that he was tiring, and we didn't even have anybody up in the bullpen at the time. So it's if it's August, I'm like, yeah, that's Wheeler. You got to be better. But, early in the season, there's no sense in just running guys. It's not like do or die, I have to go with my ace. It's April. Get bullpen guys in the game, especially it was a lighter week for the bullpen. You have, like we said, this weird off day in the homestand coming up. Granted, that was game 2 of that series.
The Wheeler game was Sunday, so it would have been game 4.
So you have an off day in 3 days. So
yeah.
I don't know. I get it. You were in the midst of a schedule. It's 6 and 1, half dozen the other. I'm not mad that he left him in, but there were definitely signs that he was tiring. And I think, the grand slam maybe could have been prevented or, nullified a little bit.
Yeah. as you can see here, I mean, he did pitch in the sixth. Technically, he faced 4 batters in the sixth, but 100 pitches, to not even get an out in the sixth is a lot for him, obviously. But he was having a huge strikeout game. But the 3 walks was really uncharacteristic, and that's kind of what did him in that game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, pitching wise, I'm not gonna get too hung up on
No,
any little
they've
thing right
been
now.
incredible.
Yeah, the big issue up until I guess 2 days ago has kind of been the hitting. And Bryce, outside of that 3-homer game against the Reds, was really bad, and then he's kind of come back this week. JT's been pretty steady, not crazy, but not also getting low. Marsh has kind of cooled off, but still a very consistent hitter. There's 2 guys I'm worried about. One way more than the other, and I'm gonna have to go to like the last page to probably find both of them here. I should just pull their things up, but there he is, Nick Castellanos, coming in at 185 of qualified hitters. This guy, I'm kind of convinced he might just be cooked. I don't know what you think, but like these numbers are bad. His slugging percentage is the same as his average, which means he has what, 0 extra base hits?
Yeah. Oh, he's
Yeah,
the only qualified hitter in the majors without an extra base hit.
right. So here you go. This is a guy who, throughout his career, extra base machine. You could pencil him in for 40 doubles, 20 to 25 home runs, and we're 19 games in, and he has none of those. His approach is bad. His at bats are somewhat, they come off as lazy, in my opinion. I don't like. Is this a confidence thing, or is he just flat out fried?
Yeah, I don't know. I think taking a step back from him in general, the offense has been concerning, but I don't think it's a sense from, talent or guys pressing or anything. I think it's them buying in too much to this new approach.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're trying to replicate the Diamondbacks and what they did to the Phillies in the NLCS, and that was basically single them to death and run and stuff. And we're seeing a lot more guys not named Trey Turner get thrown out trying to steal, which
Yeah, that's
doesn't
been
particularly make
yeah.
sense to me. And they're making a lot of outs on the bases, and I think it just stems from them getting beat in the NLCS by a team that singled and ran. And with at this point in time, with how the pitching is in the major leagues, it's so difficult to string 3 or 4 singles together in an inning to put up crooked numbers. So yeah, I'm in favor of lowering the chase rates, but at the same time, if you're sacrificing essentially your entire offensive production, like there's no reason that this lineup should be 22nd in the league in terms of runs scored. Like that's just there's too much money invested and there's too much talent. Um, Now, as the last week, as the weather started to warm up, the bats have definitely been better. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
not like fully pressing the panic button on the entire offense as a whole, but Castellanos in general is just like miserable to watch. He didn't swing the other night, but that ball that like started halfway in the lefty's batter's box, and they had that overhead view of
I should have pulled that up. Yeah.
the slider that he like half swung at. It was like there's guessing at pitches, and then there's like whatever the hell Nick Castellanos does,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like no at bats productive.
No.
There's nothing that like the only silver lining to what is he hitting? 185, did you say, or he's the 185th
Yeah, he's
qualified hitter?
185th qualified. He's hitting
Well,
159.
they were like, I was watching the game the other day or listening to the game on the radio, and the Phillies are, atrocious again this year with runners in scoring position. But
Mm-hmm.
he's 4 for 10 with runners in scoring position, or he was at the time. So like all 4 of his hits were with guys in scoring position. So like if I had to say one good thing about him, I guess it would be that. Like
Yeah,
his
he got the walk off on a Saturday.
yeah, his handful of hits are, you know, at the right time, I guess. But I
Mm-hmm.
think the thing that makes it so difficult to kind of give him any, grace or, feel like he's going to break out of it is just the way that he, like, yes, when he's going good, everyone loves the attitude and everything. but when he's going bad and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna still keep all 9 of my buttons on my jersey undone and run around and flaunt everything. And then I go on social media after he goes 0 for 4 with 9 balls chasing the dirt, and he's posting his Corona ads on social media. It's like, dude, like log off social media, don't post any of your ads. Your agent could wait, and like you can't do that when you're the worst qualified hitter in the major leagues.
Yeah, I mean, it's bad. I don't know. To me, like the confidence we've seen with him his whole time here, outside of like that one playoff game last year, has been nothing what I thought we were getting from the guy I used to see from afar, who was always, starting the fights and everything and not afraid to, tell someone off and always bat flipping and stuff. It's not been there. And obviously the first year in 2022 was not good. And I think people forget about it because they went to the World Series. And last year he was good until he wasn't again. And at the end of that Diamondback series, he definitely cost them, among other people. It wasn't just him. But now I think it's kind of coming to a head, so to say, because we're about to be. I mean, if he goes through this series and still doesn't get an extra base hit, like people are going to start definitely talking.
And
20,
I think
20 to 25 games is a very fair sample size at some point. It becomes indicative of what you are and not a funk.
yeah, for me, it's like you're saying, it's kind of coming to a head. I
Mhm.
think going into the World Series 2 years ago, we with Harper being on the tear that he was, yes, he cooled off in the World Series, but going into that series, it was okay. Harper's been a maniac. He just had a crazy series against the Padres. He's raking. It's going to come down to Castellanos to protect him, and he did nothing in that series. So
Mhm.
it's like, all right, that's with me at least. That was like, okay, that's strike one, but it was year one, whatever. Reset, more comfortable next year. And last year, the first half he started off so good. He was an all-star and everything. And then again in the Diamondback series, he was 1 for 24 with like double-digit strikeouts or whatever. Like
Well,
it was,
he had a home run
he
in his
had,
first at bat, and then I don't think he got a hit again.
yeah, and double-digit strikeouts. And it's like, all right, that's kind of strike two. This is, for me at least, a make or break year for him in terms of how his tenure here is going to play out. And it's been a miserable start at the plate to start the season. He's saying that the new out of town scoreboard is
Yeah,
bugging him or
that's
whatever. And like he's like I think Harper's played every game, but like Castellanos has played every game. Meanwhile, we have freaking Marsh getting sat because he quote unquote can't hit lefties, but then we've got Castellanos swinging a wet pool noodle out there every single game of the season, and there's no, day off or
repercussions.
anything.
Yeah.
But Marsh and Stott, Stott hasn't been great, but I'd take his bad over Castellanos' bad because at least Stott isn't striking out as much. He can run, he can steal bases, he can do other things. He plays pretty good defense.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Castellanos is out there every day. He's average on his best day in the field, and his at bats are about as good as you and I are right now.
Yeah. And I'm going to say, I know a lot of people, and I know you kind of brought this up, like they can't get rid of him even if they wanted to. There's too much money, too many years. The only way, and I've told you this, the only possible way he gets out of here is if Mike Trout really does ask out of LA and you go to the Angels, hey, instead of giving us back money in return for better prospects, we just want you to take Castellanos' contract. That is the only scenario, and there's I'd say a 0.02% chance that happens right now. Now that could change maybe in a couple months, but that is the only scenario where I see it happening because one, they also do not have someone to necessarily replace him. Pache is going to get exposed if he plays every day. Whit Merrifield looks really bad right now. And you can't even say, oh, we'll move Harper back to right because there's not a backup infielder that is MLB ready that you can look at long term. Like Cody Clemens and Derek Hall can tear it up in AAA all they want. One, they're lefties, which doesn't help the situation because there's already too many lefties in this lineup. And two, they're just quad A players. It's what they are. Now, they're very good in short stints, and if someone gets hurt, they're guys I think you can rely on for a couple of weeks. They're not long-term guys. Like, the prospect that would push him out of this lineup would be Aiden Miller, who's in low A. You know what I mean? Like, he's the only
He's
impact
like
bat.
19.
Right. Because in that scenario, you could say, oh, Aiden Miller plays third, Bohm plays first, and Harper goes back to right. That is the only scenario that moves him out of this lineup, because even if someone like Rincon or Kaba comes up, they're middle infielders that don't hit a lot of home runs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not doing you any good to take a right fielder who in the past has hit, 30 home runs and 50 doubles in seasons and drove in 100. It's not the same. It's not a fair trade-off. So he's not going anywhere. So I don't know what they do. They're already tucking him down as deep in the lineup as they can, considering one Stott is struggling, so they have him at 8, and we know what Rojas is, so he has to bat 9. They can only take him down so deep right now. And now Stott, I think, will eventually get going, and when that happens, yeah, I guess you can move him to 8, but it really doesn't change all that much. I just think the only solution right now is for him to get going a little bit, because there really is no alternative in terms of a guy that could call up that would fix it, or getting rid of him, DFAing him, because it's just too much money to eat right now. And the only team that I think would take him to trade would be that Trout scenario. So there's not a lot they have to work with.
Yeah, and you're saying we know what Rojas is. Rojas is, a better hitter than Castellanos is right now.
He's more doubles.
Yeah, Dave Dombrowski's been incredible for the organization, done nothing but good things in my eyes since he's got here. Not even from contracts, but, bringing the right people in from Preston Mattingly and Brian Barber, and kind of revamping the way that this organization goes about things, and, turning them essentially into what a professional organization should be, from what Clentac and McPhail kind of established. But he made 2 really bad moves. Well, I'll say one really bad move and one bad move, because Castellanos has had his moments, but the Taijuan Walker signing and the Castellanos signing have really handcuffed this team in terms of flexibility in, adding depth and trade deadline stuff. There's, those are 2 big numbered contracts for guys who just aren't producing at the level you're paying them to, but, well below that level. And it's really handcuffed their ability to make moves to improve the team throughout the season when, certain needs arise.
Yeah, and as we've seen, I know it's a very small sample size, but Spencer Turnbull and his, I don't know, was he making like 1.5 million, has been 100 times better than Taijuan Walker ever has here.
Yeah,
and it's frustrating.
Walker's rushing back to get back next week too.
Yeah, because he knows the heat's on.
Yeah, stay away.
Yeah, and I guess let's bring this up before we look into the schedule. Who are they taking out for him? Is it Sanchez or is it Turnbull?
It can't be Sanchez after last night. I know it was the Rockies, but Sanchez out there getting 10 strikeouts on a night where he was kind of fighting command. It's he has legitimate stuff. And I know Sanchez has been kind of, his whole career arc has been interesting. I know we got him as a Rule 6 pick from the Rays for Curtis Mead, who is a top 20 prospect. And it's oh, wow, we lost a top 20 prospect for this guy who doesn't pitch for us. We lost the trade. And then 2 years ago, you see him in the minors and he's throwing 98 when we got him with no command. And all of a sudden this guy's a starter and he's throwing 91. It's what the hell happened here? But, they kind of were starting him at ground zero, and we're literally just focus on throwing strikes. You're 6'5" or whatever he is. So the ball's going to get on hitters faster, even with a sink. And now all of a sudden last night he was hitting 96 in the 5th inning.
I saw that. Yeah.
Strikes. It wasn't his best command night, but he is a legitimate, number 4 starting pitcher in the major leagues. And they got him back up to, hitting 96 in the later innings of a start around the strike zone. So in my opinion, you don't touch him And Turnbull's in too good his first 3 starts to just be like, okay, you're done. So, I'm not in favor of them going a 6-man rotation.
Yeah, because Wheeler and Nola don't like it either.
Wheeler and Nola Nola doesn't hate the extra day of rest, but Wheeler is on record saying that he hates it. So I hope they don't do that. I don't know what they're going to do because I know how you and I both feel about Walker. Just Walker pitching is going to piss us off. But then the fact that they're going to either go a 6-man, which your two, $150 million pitchers hate, or you're taking out a guy who's been very good to start the season. I think Sanchez has a 3.7 to start the season, and Turnbull has a 1.5 to start the season in 2 or 3 starts. So it's you're taking out one of those guys, or you're doing something your 2 aces hate. So either way, to me it's a lose. And on top of that, you have the biggest loss of all, which is Taijuan Walker having to pitch for you.
Yeah, and if he comes out and gets lit up,
dude,
the media and the fans are gonna go into a frenzy because
he gave up 2 runs in single A last week.
Yeah. This can be a problem.
He gave up 2 runs in single A while his average fastball was 90.
Yeah, I don't know. I think their only hope is that he gets so pissed off with them, he asks out, and some team has so many pitching injuries that they'll take half of the contract. I don't know what else there really is to do because he's a buzzkill. I just don't know how else to put it. He's a buzzkill, and I'd rather see Turnbull. And I know Mick Abel hasn't gotten off to the best start in AAA, but if he gets it going, I think I'd rather see him than Taijuan Walker. I don't know. It's not I don't want to see him. They've been so good without him, and I hate to take one of those 2 guys out of the rotation. And I guess it'll probably be Turnbull because he was originally slated to be the long man, so I guess it'll be him. But I don't know. We'll see how he looks tomorrow. And I know the White Sox. This is quite legitimately the worst. Maybe one of the worst offenses in the history of baseball with Moncada and Robert out. So I don't I know you can't take a lot from it, but if he comes out again, it's
probably why Walker's trying to rush back so he can pitch against the White Sox and make a good first impression this year.
Yeah, but they would. So I think he would not pitch until next week against the Reds, and I could see that going horribly.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, so that's I'm not looking forward to that. So I guess we'll cross that bridge when it gets there. But either way, it's gonna be a buzzkill. It's gonna be disappointing. So we talked about this 10-game stretch after the Red Series, where it was 3 in Washington, 3 in St. Louis, 4 at home with the Pirates, 3 at home with the Rockies, and 3 at home with the White Sox. 16 games, and I think we said we wanted to go 11-5 in that stretch, and we'd be happy. So right now, I know they have 4 losses. So that would be, my math is so bad. So they did. There's 3 games left. So what? They're 9-4 in it.
They won.
Yeah, they're 9-4.
Yeah,
they're 9-4 in that stretch. So I mean, I don't expect them to lose the series this weekend. So at least if they get 2, I'd like 3, just because the road trip coming up is hard. But it looks like we're on pace to get that 11-5. Might get 12-4. Anything below this now, I'm going to be disappointed with. But
yeah, you can't lose a series to the White Sox at home.
Yeah, but I'm liking, though. I think we kind of got what we asked for, which is nice. But after that,
Friday.
Go ahead.
Friday will be tough with Crochet, just because he's he throws hard and he's a lefty, and he's.
I don't expect to see Marsh in there, or Stoudemire might not be in there. Yeah,
he's been really good to start the season. It's interesting. I think before this season, he hadn't thrown more than 5 innings in his career since he was at Tennessee as a pitcher. And, all of a sudden the White Sox, he came up the year they drafted him and was insane out of the bullpen. Then he got Tommy John, and he's just kind of disappeared off the face of the earth. And then this year, all of a sudden it's boom, he's the opening day starter. And he's been really good going relatively deep into games. He throws 100 with a little bit of a weird windup. So yeah, I definitely I'd be shocked if Marsh is in the lineup. I'd be happy if he was, even if he goes over. At least they're showing that they trust him a little bit. But yeah, I'd be shocked if he was in the lineup. So that one will be tough. But after that, they really don't have anybody opposing them.
And it's Wheeler and Nola.
Yeah. So, if they lose the first one, still they should not lose that series.
Yeah, and look, I mentioned this. We could be worried about Crochet. The White Sox have to score 2 to win the game, and
yeah, they could win that game 1-0.
Right. So I'm not going to stress too much about them having a decent pitcher just because they have to score 2. So we'll see. But after that, interesting road trip. 4 in Cincinnati, 3 in San Diego, 3 in LA. I think I'd be happy with 5-5 on that. Anything else I would take as kind of icing. I don't know how you feel about that one, but that's gonna be an interesting one because we know the Reds are gritty. The Padres have been pretty good. I think I saw Darvish going on the IL though.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if they were slated to see him anyway, but that's something to keep an eye on. And LA, Mike Trout's red hot. The rest of that team is not good, but that'll be interesting. I would like to sweep them to send a message to him, but I don't know. 5-5, I think I'll be happy with that one.
Yeah. The Angels have had kind of jump. The Reds are interesting. We saw them, and we kind of know what they are as far as they're young. They're still trying to figure it out, so they're off to a little bit of a slower start than I think some people expected to start the year. But the pitching's been better than expected. Lodolo's back, and if we see him, I feel like he always shoves against us. That's another one of those weird lefties. But their pitching staff throws hard, and it seems like we struggle with hard fastballs and strike out a lot against that. So not the most favorable matchup in terms of pitching staffs, but yeah, they're fine. I don't know. I'm not that high on San Diego. I know they're second in the West right now, but I think that the Diamondbacks have started off poorly. The Giants, I don't really know what the Giants are, and the Rockies are like the worst team ever. So the Padres are especially if Darvish is out. Matt Waldron throws a knuckleball for them, so I don't know if we'll see him. That should be interesting with the chasers that we have in our lineup. I can't imagine Castellanos trying to hit off a knuckleball. That would actually be really funny. But I expect to win that series. And the Angels stink outside of Trout, and the pitching has been okay to start the season. I think they just lost Stevenson.
Yeah, they did.
Wanted the Phillies to sign in the offseason. He's out for the year. Reed Detmers has been really good to start the season for them. Another lefty. So I don't know if we'll face him. I think that's probably a little bit too far out to determine at least. But
yeah, it is.
They have some interesting pitching. A lot of lefties in the rotation between Detmers and Tyler Anderson's still there.
Yeah.
So yeah, but they don't. I don't know. They should win the last 2 series of that road trip. So yeah, I'm with you. 5-5 at least. I don't even say. I think I'd be okay with 5-5, but realistically, with the way that the teams are, with some injuries and stuff, I think you should have a winning record after that road trip.
Yeah, they don't play that bad in San Diego. It was actually. Was that 2 years ago when Bryce got hurt out there was kind of when they turned the season around. I think they won 3 out of 4 out there, and Schwarber really got going. That was kind of like when the season flipped. So, yeah, they do play well out there. Obviously, some fond memories from the NLCS out there. So, yeah, we'll see. But they do like to play out there. I personally cannot remember the last time they played in Anaheim. The last 2 times the Angels played here, it was in Philly. So I'm not. I couldn't tell you. Maybe it was 2019, 2018, somewhere around there. But yeah, interested to go out there. Team does not really scare me. Our old boy Mickey Moniak will be out there. But yeah, I don't know. 6-4, I could see. Depends how this Red Series goes. They hit when they go to Cincinnati. They always hit when they go there. But
yeah,
we'll see. They have to pitch.
if they win the Red Series, I feel pretty good about the outlook of the road trip.
Oh yeah, so do I. If they take 3 out of 4 in Cincy, that would be huge. I wanted to close today with a little interesting prospect thing. Aiden Miller ripping it up, by the way. I think he's in 359 with 2 homers already on the year's OPS is over 1,000. I'd like to see them, not right now. Obviously, it's only been a week. I'd like to see them maybe push him a little bit, see what his limits are in terms of moving up a level or two at the end of the season. If you could get him in Reading for like a week at the end of the year, I think that'd be huge. I'm just to see what they do with him because obviously he's a year older. He's gonna be 20. So maybe just a little bit push him, see how that goes. But George Clausen, the dude they took from Minnesota, injury-riddled college career, averaged 7.5 walks per 9, I think, when he was there. Whatever they've done to him, I know it's only 2 starts, but I think they've kind of fixed him. 10 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 17 strikeouts. They have him starting right now, but I could see this, if they really wanted to, this being a Kerkering fast track. Because this is kind of like Kerkering did the same thing, low A to the majors last year. If they wanted to, I feel like they could do this with Klassen, their number 29 prospect, or he's 22. I mean, do they take their time, see if they have a starter here? I'm just curious what you think maybe they'll do with him, if they think fast track bullpen this year, or if they just play this slow because he does have the control and the arm history and problems.
Yeah, you were asking for credit in the group chat the other day. Somebody said on the preseason pod that Clausen was a prospect to watch. People are starting to say that I actually know ball.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I don't. The Miller thing's fascinating because I agree with you with what you said, what you texted the other day about not having to wait till a prospect's 25 to see them.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I think I want to say I heard on a podcast last year, maybe High Hopes, with Mattingly or Barber. They were talking about kind of moving teams up together. They were, focusing on.
They did say that, yeah.
The Thrashers last year with, the Crawford-led team. He won the MVP in that league. And that team was, insane in terms of what a Florida Coast League team kind of looks like and what a high A team looks like. And they were really talking about moving guys up together so they get some continuity in the organization and kind of create a winning type culture that they can bring up together as they move up through the ranks. So I definitely put merit in that. I don't know too much about the draft class last year as far as what they're doing. I haven't really been keeping up on it besides Miller. I know Saltabam's ranked, relatively
7th.
highly in our top prospects.
He wasn't off to a hot start, I don't think.
And he's more of a project than Miller was. Like Miller,
Right.
The only reason he fell to us in the draft was because he was injured and missed a lot of the high school circuit. He had the hamate bone injury in his wrist. A lot of the other guys, I think, because they got Miller at 27 and they went either right around slot or over slot pay to get him, a lot of the other guys were under slot, more projects.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how, if they want to move Miller up and say, okay, we're going to skip some continuity, process this year and even try and catch Miller up to Crawford, because that might be one of those guys in one of those draft classes, kind of act like Miller got drafted the year before and run him up with those guys. I'm fully in favor with it. I think Aiden Miller is really freaking good, and he's starting to slide. I think he just hit his second home run. I think he hit both of his home runs this week. So, early in the season, I know it's, 2 or 3 weeks in for the minors, but he was hitting, but the slug wasn't really there. Now this week, The slug's starting to come. So, yeah, I'm definitely in favor of getting him up to the league as soon as possible. 1, because I want to see him. 2, because he's on my dynasty team, waiting in my farm system. But, yeah.
And wait, 3, he's the only guy that could get Castellanos out of the lineup, probably.
Aside from Trout, yeah.
Yeah.
But if they want to keep the continuity thing too, I'm fine with that, because at this point in time, I trust what Mattingly and Barber are doing, and I think that's a good way to kind of instill a culture from top to bottom. We had so many issues in years past about the disconnect from the majors to the minors, and again, that was just hitting approach, but still, just it felt like the minors were just so different than our major league system. Now you can see that starting to change. from top to bottom, teams are starting to win more in the minors. Our AAA team's kind of barren right now. I know Abel's there, but aside from that, the names aren't there.
Yeah, it's kind of
But
boring. Yeah.
That's just because they're moving guys up together and not trying to rush them. So, yeah, either way, if they move him up and get him with Crawford, I'm good with that and have him end in Reading. But if they keep him with his class and help them develop together, I'm good with that too, because I think he's too important of a prospect for the organization to rush him and miss on him.
Yeah, I agree. Really quick too. How about Justin Crawford has 2 homers already this year?
Dude,
he hit 3 in 87 games last year. So
I was skeptical when they drafted him. I think he's the real deal.
And look, we've talked about this. If he's Rojas, I don't think he's as good of a glove as Rojas, but if he's like a little less of a glove than Rojas, but the bat is like 10 times better, I mean,
the speed's 80 great. Like, it is like legit like 6'1" speed. Like, Rojas is fast, but like this dude is like fast.
Yeah. If they do make some kind of trade at the deadline that's worth anything, though, I feel like he is the guy that's out of here.
Yeah, he'd probably have to go for Trout.
Yeah, I mean, definitely Trout. I don't know if they're gonna do anything crazy with pitching now. 1, because the staff looks good. 2, because as I've mentioned, like a lot of the big name options are already gone. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But that's all I have for this one. It's gonna be a while till we come back, I guess, because they got 13 games in a row. So it's gonna be a while. Maybe we'll have to do one in between sometime. But hopefully more winning ways for the Phillies as they try to creep up on the Braves and maybe win the division for the first time since 2011. This seems like, with the Strider injury, their best opportunity in a while. So we'll see if they make any progress with that over the next couple of weeks.